Welcome back once again to the amazing world of the SCP Foundation. Today, we'll be exploring SCP-8595, which is, believe it or not, an American cockroach. What's so unusual about a cockroach, you may be asking? Right? I mean, cockroaches are pretty common after all. This particular cockroach is, shall we say, a bit more discerning than your average dumpster diver. SCP-8595 believes it's a restaurant critic. Researchers initially discovered it, leaving what appeared to be Yelp reviews for various establishments, around Site 322. The reviews were quite critical. It complained about being mistreated, served subpar food, the whole 9 yards. The Foundation began feeding it standard cockroach feed, nutrient-rich, the kind you'd get at a pet store. The cockroach, let's call it Greg, deemed it gutter swell, refused to eat it. So they had a very hungry and very opinionated cockroach on their hands. They ended up building it a restaurant, like a real sit-down restaurant, complete with a table, a chair, even a dedicated server, who was Dr. Julianne Hoover. They called it Café 322. They served it a single, perfectly ripe apple. Unfortunately, SCP-8595 was not impressed, gave Café 322 a scathing 1 star. After this failure, they decided to take a different approach. A concept restaurant named MAL, specializing in deconstructed cuisine. It was a bit of a gamble, but they theorized that maybe SCP-8595 was more than just a simple bug, that it might appreciate a more complex dining experience. Next, they served a deconstructed BLT, bacon, lettuce, and tomato, all carefully separated on individual miniature plates. They even added a unique blue seasoning. It was actually mold that had developed on some bread left out in the lab. Dr. Hoover, in a moment of scientific curiosity, decided to incorporate it into the dish. Not intentionally at first, but it turned out SCP-8595 loved it. Praised the unique earthy notes in its review. So, did the mouldy BLT win over our discerning diner? It was an improvement. SCP-8595 gave Mal 2 stars. Not great, but hey, progress. For their next attempt, they went all out. They brought in a Michelin-starred chef and built an extravagant steakhouse called Red Bell. They spared no expense. Custom woodwork, imported cutlery, a full bar, the works. Beef, tartare, a Wagyu tasting, even an attempt at a wine pairing. Although SCP-8595 ended up taking a little swim in the wine glass. It gave Red Bell a 0-star review, described the decor as garish and overwhelming, and found the use of expensive ingredients like Wagyu to be tacky and uninspired. After analysing all of SCP-8595's reviews, they noticed a recurring theme. It seemed to prefer simplicity and authenticity over flashiness and extravagance. So, what did they do? For their final attempt, they called their restaurant Carpage. So, what was this attempt all about? They took Site 322's dumpster and placed it in an empty supply closet, and put SCP-8595 inside. It was a long shot, but based on everything they had learned, they figured it was worth a try. After a couple of hours, SCP-8595 emerged from the dumpster, seemingly content. It left a simple handwritten review, scrumptious, 5 stars. After all that, all it took was a dumpster. Perhaps what SCP-8595 truly craved was the raw, unadulterated essence of, well, dumpster cuisine. It's almost a joke at how simple the solution was, but it makes you think about what we consider valuable or desirable. We as humans tend to think luxury equals quality. But SCP-8595 turns that idea completely upside down. It's a good reminder that our own experiences and biases shape how we see the world. We'd never think a cockroach could have such a refined taste or understand fine dining. This whole story is like a lesson in keeping an open mind. It's like the universe is telling us not to take things too seriously. Beyond its tastes in food and music, it apparently hates polka. The Foundation observed a fascination with shiny objects, little things like coins, paper clips. It would pick them up, look them over, and then just drop them. Maybe it was judging their quality, this nickel, terrible craftsmanship. I've seen better shine on a gum wrapper. Who knows? Right now, SCP-8595 isn't considered a direct threat to humanity. Its main anomaly is its intelligence and how it communicates, which is weird, but hasn't caused any harm. The Foundation's priority is containment, making sure SCP-8595 doesn't escape and mess up. Well, the global restaurant scene, I guess. Imagine the chaos. Gastronome Greg on the loose in a big city. Yelp would never recover. I hope you've enjoyed this little story. Before signing off, though, I'll leave you with Greg's reviews for each of the restaurants so you can really get a sense of his character. Café 322, a mess. Would you be impressed by a soccer player bragging about their kicking ability? No, I wouldn't think so. Being able to kick a ball is below the bar I expect from a professional athlete. A restaurant announcing its use of fresh ingredients conjures similar feelings in me. At Café 322, that thought of, okay, what else, remains lingering throughout the dining experience. Café 322's idea of fine dining follows along the lines of a less is more concept. Constraint is the boon of creativity, and I can appreciate when an artist can operate within cramped walls and create something beautiful despite it. Café 322's understanding of the less is more concept led them to drab blank walls, a cold, artless metal table, uniforms that invoke the feeling of being at your 9 to 5, and blinding hospital lights. I was lucky enough to be offered the chef's tasting menu. Imagine my rage and dismay when I was presented with a single green apple on a white plastic plate. Between the time it took for the server to walk this course from the kitchen to my table, the apple fell to its side and was disgustingly placed back upright by said server. I'm left at a crossroads. I can continue with this review, relaying the taste of an apple all of you have eaten in one form or another during your lives, or I can do what Café 322 did and stop trying before I even get started. After this sentence, it should be clear which road I went down. 1 star. Malicious. What I've always enjoyed about the art form, yes, art form, of culinary expression is how a head chef, owner, etc. can imbue themselves into a product and give their patrons a sense of who they are. Mao does no such things, taking minimalism to its extreme, to the point I'm unsure of what the artists behind this work are trying to make me feel. Black, windowless walls, cold, ice-white marble tables, uncomfortable metal seating, and deliberately boring plating left me feeling I entered more the uncanny valley than I did a high-end restaurant. Mao offers a seasonal chef's menu, which I attempted to indulge in. The first course, a twist on nachos as it was described to me, was tortilla triangles, fried and seasoned with a spice mix. The chips were cold, as if they never touched oil, but punched me with a lot of flavour. This was my favourite dish, specifically for the odd blue seasoning a few chips had sprinkled on them. These were few and far between, but the flavour of this blue seasoning was absolutely delicious. I would eat a bowl of this alone. The deconstructed bacon, lettuce and tomato sandwich bored me. I'm at a loss because I'm sure everyone here has had a BLT in their lives, and it's arguably a perfect sandwich. Mao, in its desire to conquer God, reinvented this perfect sandwich and made it a hassle to eat properly. These two dishes display my most glaring qualm. I do not mind eating with my hands. However, there should be a reason. I could have very easily been presented with a BLT, but no, that wasn't different enough. The dessert eggs were an interesting idea, but were executed poorly. I've never been a fan of molecular gastronomy. I was once presented with small, caviar-sized orbs of a red liquid in a bowl, and was told it was tomato soup. These dessert eggs were flavourless, tasting more of sweetness than anything else. When I asked my waiter what the flavours were, the eggs were in all different colours and had no discernible theme or pattern. She picked one up, smushed it between her fingers, smelled it, told me buttered popcorn, and then ate it herself. That level of care told me all I needed to know of Mao. Good ideas and some good flavours, but bad execution. 2 stars. Red bell? Red flag. If you've been a reader of mine for any length of time, you'll know minimalism or the less is more concept has never been my favourite school of thought. I can most definitely commend when a chef works within self-imposed constraints to give their guests the best time, and I have enjoyed minimalist restaurants. Red Bell is a maximalist restaurant. Everything in Red Bell, from the wait staff to the tables, from the bar to the plates my meals were served on, kicked and screamed of the need to be taken seriously. It was almost too perfect that I began questioning if I was, in fact, in a real restaurant. Describe a high-end steakhouse to your friend who's never heard of restaurants before, and then have that friend tell an alien that same information. What the alien creates will not be too dissimilar to what Red Bell I was presented with. The beef tartare was chewy, and with every chew I was reminded that I was eating a dead animal. The bell pepper slaw was a tasty addition, but I expected to see more bell pepper from a restaurant named Red Bell. This is the only time you'll see any bell pepper on any dish. The Wagyu tasting was, of course, good. It's Wagyu. It's the best steak you can get in the world. The insultingly small rectangles of meat I was given were cooked to a nearly perfect medium rare. I will not give a steak restaurant their commendation for serving me the best meat in the world and respect myself as a critic afterward. I can buy Wagyu from a butcher and cook it just as well, and it would taste just as good. If this restaurant sold only their sauces, they'd receive 5 stars from me. The wasabi creamer was a treat that cut through the fattiness of the Wagyu, though slightly muted in flavour. The monstrous prime rib meal displays every single issue I have with Red Bell and is the antithesis of fine dining condensed down into a singular course. This entire meal was as if they went to the streets of the Las Vegas Strip and asked the drunken men and their plastic surgery-riddled wives what they just spent $5,000 on in some gaudy, overpriced embarrassment of a restaurant. Who, in their right mind, puts lobster meat on a prime rib? Who, in their right mind, serves rich, buttery mashed potatoes with rich, buttery truffle mac and cheese? Everything on that plate, by itself, was good. Maybe even great. The aubergines, of course, was the star. I cannot in good conscience, and as someone who respects the culinary arts, recommend anyone partake in this sham of a restaurant. 0 stars. Carpi. Scrumptious. 5 stars. Thank you once again, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep an open mind. You never know what incredible discoveries are waiting, maybe just around the corner, or maybe even hiding in your local dumpster.